Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
Today joining us, we have our opening kill, the costume designer from Scream, Cynthia Bergstrom. Hello, Cynthia.
Hi.
It's so good to talk to you again, because we recorded about Buffy, because you have done two very iconic, very big to a lot of gay men, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
The first question I have to ask you, I don't know if you saw recently on her show, she had Michelle Pfeiffer on, and she said that she wanted that wig because it reminded her of Michelle Pfeiffer in, Zach, was it Taxi Driver?
Scarface?
Scarface,
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but if Drew says that's the reason she went with the wig, then that's the reason she went with the wig.
It was a hot debate the other night when we were all going through it, you know. Some people said it was Wes, some people said it was Drew. The gays will find anything to kind of go over in detail.
I do remember it specifically being Drew.
Okay.
And I did go to the wig maker with her. And I feel like the wig maker's name was Renata, but it was 25 years ago, so I don't know. But I feel like Drew had a real vision for the wig, and I don't remember too much of Wes's input, except, you know, he wanted her cute and accessible and wholesome.
Okay. What about vision for her outfit in that? Does she have input in that, or is that something that you just pull initially? You give her maybe a couple of looks, or do you just give her that one look?
No, I mean, we definitely had a huge fitting, and there were a lot of different choices, and you know, from different sweaters and different pants, and the pants, which were Catherine Hammett, who is a British designer. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure if she's around, but the pants were just like this soft brushed cotton, and that lavender color, that lilac color just really worked, you know, sort of like she was going to have a romantic evening watching scary movies with her football playing boyfriend, and eating popcorn. And then the cozy, the one thing is she really wanted the sweater to be cozy. And I remember she loved the one that we went with because of the sleeves. The sleeves were like long and covered her hands, and she liked that look for making the popcorn over the stove. And of course I loved it all. I pulled it, and it was definitely my vision. So, I mean, I remember we even talked about bras, what bra she was going to wear. And I mean,
I don't even think we saw a bra either, so that's so interesting.
You don't
that you
see
went
it,
down.
but
Yeah.
you know, it's the foundation of a woman's outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I always find like the alternates and the sort of behind the scenes little tidbits so fascinating. So were there any alternates that are like maybe backups that kind of stick out in your mind that you think could have been good had that not been the outfit?
No, because I think like it was this combination from the beginning. I mean, so we had the fitting at Wes's house, and so Wes was there. My assistant was there, Cindy Rosenthal Dragon. Marianne was there. I think that was it. And, you know, I brought in maybe 2 racks of clothing, and that outfit was just it. I don't remember the other pieces. I think we all just agreed that was the perfect outfit. You know, we wanted it to look a little bit like loungewear, and we also needed the colors to be somewhat light because you know, there was a lot of blood that we wanted to show. I didn't want to show. Wes wanted to show.
Right.
The outfit also did like really bake into it fit into her surroundings really well too, because when we opened that scene, it is her in like the safety of her house. We were talking about this the other day, that the safety of her house, you know, it's all light and bright in there. Outside it's kind of dark and smoky, but she's got this barrier between her and any danger that's out there, right? And her outfit really does kind of add to that, and it just gets dirtier and dirtier as she kind of goes through these different levels of terror, you know, as she's like going down in the grass, and it's getting all like, those color choices really did work so perfectly, because you can see the kind of, in a 10-15 minute scene, you can see it getting dirtier and the grass stains and the blood, and like it works really well.
Thanks. I also, it was important that it be like natural fibers. So the pants were cotton, the sweater I think was a linen cotton blend, because that helps the dirt in the blood, fake dirt in the blood, and the fake blood stay on, and it just makes it easier all around.
That's interesting. But so you've styled a lot of big celebrities. That's not the norm, right? You're not like taking that much effort into one character, right? Or is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. I mean, so it starts from reading the script, and I see who each character is, and I make my notes, and maybe some preliminary sketches and tear sheets and mood boards, and I get a feel for who they are, and then from there, I talk about it with the director. I present to him or her what I have in mind. They're going to tell me, probably even before I do that, what they have in mind, and then present it to the actor. But first, I want to hear from the actor. I want to hear their input, how they see the character. If we're worlds apart, so it's my job to kind of like, how can I weave all of this together and allow for magic to take place? So yeah, it is. I mean, I'll admit, on television, not so much with Buffy, but some of the other shows, maybe not so much consideration was it became more like a factory,
right? Yeah.
And I would have their closets built. I'd bring them in for a fitting, and we'd fit maybe all the new outfits that I bought, and then they would sit in their closet. So then by the time we came to shoot, I'd say, okay, we're going to go with this, we're going to go with this, we're going to go with this. You cool, great. It just was very systematic and very efficient. That's TV, because you're moving so quickly. And with a movie, it's a little bit different. There's definitely more discussion when you're shooting a movie.
Okay, that makes more. I guess I spend so much time talking about TV on Slayerfest 98 that I'm so used to it being like, you gotta rush, you gotta go, like you don't have time to lavish.
And that was something that was really interesting, because I hadn't done TV before Buffy.
Okay.
And I came off Scream and I think 2 other movies. And then I started doing Buffy, and I was like, oh my God, it moved so fast. And I just felt like I was trying so hard to keep the walls up. And we had to my team and we had to figure out really efficient ways of being, which we did. And then it became like a well-oiled machine.
What happens to those? Go for it, Ian.
No, go ahead.
What happens to the costumes? I want to know do you ever get to take any of those? Did you get to keep the Casey Becker costume and shove it in a little like Ziploc bag?
If you're not allowed to tell us, you can tell us afterwards.
I think it's totally fine to talk about it all these years later. So yeah, I mean, I took one of the Ghostface costumes. I had one of Casey's outfits. The pants didn't look good on me. They didn't. She's definitely smaller than me, but I think there was a pair in my size. They just didn't work on me, but I had one of those sweaters. I had some of Gale's clothing.
Yes.
I mean, I had a lot of it, and I still have Gale's jewelry.
Are you wearing it right now? What is that? Oh my goodness, exclusive.
I've been wearing this for 25 years. I mean, there was a period like, maybe in the 2000s, I took it off and I stopped wearing it. And I was like, I'm tired of it. And then I was like, oh my God, I love it so much. I couldn't find a necklace that I liked. I found earrings that I liked, but they kept breaking. So I was like, keeping this.
I love that. I always love hearing like what people kept and what they were like, because sometimes you're allowed to, right? Sometimes you kind of just fudge it and they just don't care, right?
You're not allowed to. I mean, there were, I do remember those, like the producer saying to the actors, take this, because we typically have to put everything in storage and save it, bag it up, and because we might need to do reshoots so that we still have the costume. So after everything's in the can and the film has been released, then the clothing is still in storage, and a lot of times it goes into the warehouses for rentals, or they sell it. And I don't know what they did with all the Scream pieces. So many people over the years have ended up purchasing pieces from Scream. I'm like, where'd you get that? How?
Do you think it's a little bit more under lock and key now? Because like, back then you don't really know what's the lightning in the bottle. You don't know what's going to be so successful. So all of these pieces from Scream are worth like so much money now, right? So I wonder if nowadays, with a sort of, we look through a nostalgic lens anyway, if everybody's kind of pre-thinking, hey, this could be something, maybe check that log a little bit better. Do you think that might be the case? Or
Sure. I've been out of the business for about 7 years, so I'm not entirely sure, but I would imagine,
yeah,
like wouldn't people want stuff from Star Wars? A friend of mine today was telling me how George Lucas, who doesn't live far from where I live, has a warehouse of all the props from the Star Wars movies. And people geek out over that. You guys know this. People geek out over that stuff. So I think I don't know. That's a really great question to ask a producer.
yeah, I would really like to know that, because even speaking of Star Wars, like that first movie, they didn't know what they had, right? It was like a low budget, like just weird sci-fi movie that they were making, and there were so many of those props, like the Death Star ended up as a trash can, like somebody's trash can outside of a gas station. And so it's crazy, like what really ends up catching on, because I could imagine like Casey Becker's opening Scream outfit, right? Like would go for so much money now.
Yeah.
We just did a Scream live show in New York at Stonewall, and we had a drag queen did Casey Becker drag, and I'll show you later. It is phenomenal.
Wow, yeah, I'd love to see it.
So also I mean, you and I have spoken about this a little bit on Slayer Fest. You did originally make a Ghostface costume, right? There was one that was made that was different, right?
What do you mean different?
Like, didn't you tell me that you made like a white one, but then you guys decided to go with like the SOAR costume?
So originally, Wes wanted the Ghostface. Well, he wasn't called Ghostface then. He was just called the Killer. He wanted it to be white. And we hadn't found the mask yet, and all of us were coming up with different ideas for the mask. I was convinced I was going to be the one that delivered the mask. I didn't, but I got to deliver the costume. So he wanted it white, and he wanted it to be like this sort of cheap nylon ripstop fabric. Well, he didn't really indicate the fabric too much, but he wanted the fabric to be, so he wanted it to look like it was bought from a dime store costume shop. And so, I made up a couple of prototypes in white, and even though my original sketch, I made the costume black because I always saw the killer as the Grim Reaper. And so we put a friend of mine in the costume because he was a big guy. We stuck him in the bushes. All of us were out there watching him run around with a knife and he looked like Casper, and we just kept laughing. We thought it was very funny. And, I was like, Wes, we just can't do white. And he was so adamant he wanted white. And so we were up in Northern California. We'd left LA and we were just getting ready to shoot. We had maybe a week or two, and we were on a location scout. And there was the DP that saw this fabric, this black fabric with this silver metallic Lurex thread running through it, and the sun was hitting it just perfectly. And he was like, this would be great for the killer. And lo and behold, that became the fabric for the costume. I was like, yes, it's black.
Yeah, I would imagine the white, I could understand what he was going for, but yeah, I feel like I can't imagine it being as intimidating in white because you see it so like clearly.
I feel like originally he didn't want it intimidating. Like he didn't want it scary, and that might have been part of it. But then also if it was white, it would have been really challenging to control the blood splatter. And yeah, so anyway, we were just all so happy that we found this fabric.
I read an interview you did with Nylon this year about talking about that fabric, and when I was younger, like as I got older, I realized it wasn't. But when I was younger, I totally thought Ghostface had glitter in his costume with how it like shined the light.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, that's cool. They like put some glitter on they like, are like gaying it up a little bit. Good for them. But it's just like, it is like, what do you say? Like latex or whatever, I guess?
Lyrics.
Lyrics. Okay.
It's like a metallic thread, or I mean, I haven't seen the fabric in years, but it was a beautiful fabric. And then I guess like I bought it all up, used it all up, and then I don't know what they did for the next series of films. Be kind of interesting to know, and even the TV show, which I haven't watched, but
yeah. With styling her football player boyfriend, I'm always curious with those jackets, because I know sometimes you can like costume folks can just rent a like football color, or is that something you had to have like made in like whatever colors for whatever you were deciding for their school?
Feel like so I don't have real clear recollection, but I feel like I did have those made, and it's really easy to get varsity jackets made.
Oh, yeah.
At different costume houses in Los Angeles. So I'm pretty sure we picked the colors. I think his name had to be embroidered. I'm not 100% certain of that, but yeah, I definitely wanted control over that.
How many of something like that do you have to get, since it's like there is the shot of him just tied up and then the shot of his guts everywhere? Like
I think maybe we had 2.
Okay.
I mean,
Would make more sense.
What, Zach?
I said that would just make more sense, right? Because you wouldn't need all that many for him.
No, not for him. And I feel like there may have been a stunt double, and then I think there were a few guys throughout the school wearing varsity jackets. So I'm pretty sure I had a handful made up.
But so then, I don't know why I didn't ask this earlier. With Drew, how many did you have to have of that? Because so everything's so light.
I would imagine at least 6 to 8 pieces, for the different stages.
Yeah.
Per stunt person.
Huh. Is it, so I in the interview with Nylon, you mentioned talking about like the squibs. Is that a pain in the ass being like, oh, we gotta remember, they gotta also be able to like get stabbed and bleed everywhere? Or is that kind of like, doesn't have to bother you about it?
No, it's not a pain in the ass. Yes, it's something that has to be taken under consideration. The weight of the fabric, like can it hold a squib? What's she going to wear underneath to protect her skin against the appliance? So yeah, it's not a pain in the ass, and yes, I take it into consideration.
So talk about styling Sydney, because she does wear a couple different outfits until the end. And she does, but it was of the time. For part 1, you mentioned Drew liked the longer sleeves.
Yeah.
As a kid from the 90s, like I still do that. Like when I have a hoodie, I like the sleeves to come out a little bit. Oh. And Nev kind of in her first scene is kind of wearing like a more like baggier, comfy sweater. Was that kind of like to parallel, like she might die, or was it just like the style?
It's funny because I look back at her wardrobe choices now, and I think, boy, I really had her covered up. And I think that was just because of what she was going through, with the murder of her mother, and her mom was accused of having an affair. And and just a lot of shame, and I think when we're first introduced to Sydney, she's sort of just like hiding herself a bit. But she's also got this budding sexuality that's blooming, and she's curious. And so I do think boyfriend jeans and boyfriend sweaters were of the time. I feel like they really were. And, as we progress through the film, we see, she's showing a bit of her body. And by the time she gets to the party, she's got a deeper décolleté, she's got a lower cut V top. I think it's the V, and her pants are tighter, and she's got heels on. So she's rocking it. But yeah.
What about other horror movies? Did you guys really look into other horror movies and other like Final Girls and project any of that style onto Sydney, considering she is the final girl of this?
I didn't.
Mm.
I wanted her to be completely her own identity and have her own
That's
style.
that
And
is really
that was also
interesting.
important. Yeah, and that was also important too. Like Wes, the one really strong piece of direction that he gave me is he said, I want this movie to look timeless. I don't want them to look trendy. And there were some strong 90s trends going on at the time. And he said, I just want to stay away from that because who knows? Maybe people are still going to be watching this film 20, 30 years from now.
And here we are.
Yeah, I think he'd be really happy to see that there's still so much interest and love.
And I feel like you have fun doing Gale and Tatum. It feels like those characters would be fun for you to like the flashier ones.
Gale definitely was. I mean, from my first conversation with Courtney, we just were so eye to eye on who Gale was, and then she brought even more to Gale. But Gale was somebody who wants to be seen, who's bright, who's flashy, stylish, and I mean, it was fun to shop for Versace and Moschino. I mean, those are the two that I really remember for her. And Tatum, it was so Rose definitely had a different idea for me about the character, and so we just went shopping together.
That's fair.
Dream, take them shopping.
but for Gale, did you pull some pieces to like show Courtney?
Oh yeah, we had a huge fitting. I mean, yeah, I went, yeah.
Who had the biggest fitting out of all the characters? Was it her?
I mean, probably. So Gale was fit in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and of course so my office was at Universal Studios in the wardrobe department, and so you have these beautiful fitting rooms, and I would put out a spread of food and drink and fruit and nibbles and things to keep their energy going, and there's just beautiful lighting and the tailors there, the seamstress, whoever, and it was a great experience, and she was familiar with it, and Lisa Kudrow walked by and came in and said hi. So it was cool. It was like a real Hollywood moment, and definitely because I had pulled things from Neiman's and Barney's and Saks and worked with some designers and brought things in. I mean, it was a spectacular fitting, the way I love to do fittings. When we got to, and also Drew's fitting was in LA, obviously it was at Wes's, so that was a great experience, but the others were pretty much fit in Santa Rosa, where we shot in the hotel, and so it was a different vibe, and I was shopping for their clothes in Santa Rosa, where I grew up as well. And I mean, we used to leave Santa Rosa and come into the city to go shopping, or Walnut Creek, or maybe it was Concord. We didn't really have malls there, but there was a Macy's, there was a Gap, and when I was a kid, I worked at that Macy's. I was behind the cosmetics counter. I think it was a little Clinique, and so that was kind of cool to go back and shop, but that's where a lot of Sydney's clothes came from, and then Nordstrom as well. I mean, each fitting was equally relative and equally important, and there were always, Kathy Conrad and Marianne Magdalena were always in the fittings. They were watching everything, which was fine. I don't normally have producers in my fittings, but it was fine.
You're being very fair.
And then Skeet, God bless him, I feel like his fitting was in his trailer right before we were getting ready to shoot.
Oh shit.
I could see it.
And
I always thought he wore, but he does wear, the t-shirts are like they're different t-shirts, right? I always thought he wore kind of the same thing, but like I realized in my most recent watch, the one by the fountain isn't white. It's like a grayish, right? Like you got him a bunch of different t-shirts.
There's a bunch of different t-shirts, a couple of overshirts, some of the jeans, and I feel like I had to fit him a few times during the shoot because he came on at the last minute or he came up at the last minute. I'm not sure, but I definitely feel like it was in his trailer. Matthew Lillard, I think he might have been in LA. I think I got some of his clothes from some surfwear manufacturers in LA. And then Randy, Jamie Kennedy, I feel like his fitting was in LA because I put him in Fresh Jive. And so I was working with Fresh Jive on promos. So yeah. And then Tatum, she must have been in LA because we went to American Rag or one of those stores. And I remember being on the 3rd Street Promenade with her and my assistant. Yeah.
That's cool. So of what you created, which of the guys did you like not actor wise, but just like of the characters that you styled, which did you like the best of the guys?
Yeah. Definitely Stu.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just like that sort of groovy, loose knit. I'm cool. I got it going on, but I'm really insecure inside look.
Yes, that really, it's like the cool chill stoner who actually has yeah, he was the one that I had the bigger crush on when I was younger.
Of course, right. You were talking about earlier that you sketched a version of the killer, right? Do you usually do a lot of sketching for costuming, even if you're going to just go and get a Versace suit or
No.
Just no.
Oh, if so, the way that I design, I usually just sketch when I'm building something, when it's coming out of my imagination, and if I, there have been some contemporary looks where I've purchased clothing and I've sketched the idea in my mind first, but typically I'll put a mood board together and use tear sheets and Pinterest and different things like that.
Cynthia, you are on your shit. You are so good.
Getting it.
Also, I wanted you to say that you corrected me before we recorded about the Gale's outfit that I love so much. What color? It's not green, right?
Nope, it's chartreuse.
Chartreuse. I'm going to always remember that word now. Always remember that color.
And that's the outfit that is Versace, right?
Yes.
But I do know that you, in that nylon interview, you did mention you had a alternate Gale outfit.
Yes.
Talk about that, if you remember it.
So I loved this outfit. It was, I'm pretty sure it was another Versace, or it could have been Dolce, but because it was bright orange, I'm thinking it was probably Versace. And it was just this beautiful suit, similar to the chartreuse one, but it didn't have as much hardware on it. And I so wanted to use that on her. And it just didn't fit the scene. Everybody preferred the red Moschino, which I get it. It really works for where we go with that.
Yeah.
And of course, I picked them, so I was fine with all of them.
Oh, so was that going to be the alternate instead of the red? It was going to, you had the orange in mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's, I guess, technically the movie isn't, it's what, 3 days, 2 days? So it's not like there's that many.
There's not that many changes. Yeah. I think it's 2 days. Not many people talk about the fact that Linda Blair.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And so I must have been, I was pretty young when I saw The Exorcist. And then the second part of The Exorcist didn't scare me, but the second Exorcist scared me to death. So I was terrified to meet and fit Linda. And then she was just so sweet and so adorable. And I thought, wow, that is what acting is all about.
It's funny that you brought her up, because I was thinking, because you do give her a flashy print, it's I think red and white or whatever, it's a shimmery
something. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I bet she had fun with that.
She did. And you know what? That just reminded me. I haven't thought about this in years, but I think I still have the pants that she wore, and I think they were Christian Dior. And
I love that.
I think I still have them. Yeah.
The more you
Cynthia,
know.
I know. I love it. One day I'm going to be like, how do I get to see all this?
All these exclusives for you guys.
Seriously. Did you also get one of the shirts so that I survived that like shoot? I know they said that it was like the longest shoot or whatever.
Scene 118, right?
Scene 118. I think so. I don't have it any longer.
How much is the blood, when it's blood the way it's done with this, where it like, you know, Sydney's jacket is drenched by the end, her denim. Is that you or is that costuming? Or is that like props? It is?
No, that's costume.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I guess you have to take that into consideration with all those final outfits, right? Like how they're gonna bleed.
Yeah. So everything kind of has to be broken down. And there are different stages for each of the costumes. So we have multiples. And the nice thing about Scream is if my memory serves me right, we actually shot it in sequence. So it was easier to track the blood. It wasn't like we had to go, okay, scene 110, and then and then shoot scene 110, and then go back to scene 94 and have clean costumes. So I feel like it was sequential, and so that was a lot easier. But my set costumers were the ones applying the blood and keeping track of everything.
You mentioned Sydney's costume before, but you do put her in a more like confident outfit. What made you make that decision rather than like what you'd put her in prior to the movie?
It just made so much sense. I mean, first she's going to a party. She wants to look a little sexier, a little more grown up. I think she pretty much has decided that she's going to be with Billy. Yeah. So there's that transition from girl into woman. And then, you know, taking into consideration what that costume needs to do and what that actor needs to do in the costume. That's always a huge consideration. Yeah. And a lot of people over the years have asked about the jacket, like, why a jean jacket? And so many jean jackets. And you need jackets because the actors have to be out in the cold. We have to, we have to have special effects, squibs, you know, different things like that, padding. So we need layers.
Yeah. So this whole like end, just like it's the last 40 to 50 minutes that take place at Stu's house. Do you have that location already like set in stone when you start coming up with these costumes for all these characters? And if so, do you pair these costumes almost with the set as well?
Yes and no. So
okay.
A lot of times, like, we may not have seen a location locked in until after I've chosen the costumes. So that's why a costume designer is available for first establish. So sometimes I'll go out on a location scout and I'll see what the location is, what the set looks like, but it doesn't really matter until it's dressed. So it's once it's dressed, I can make sure that my colors are going to work with their colors. But for the first establish, it's like I want to see the actor on set to make sure everything works. Make sure, you know, I don't have two actors dressed the same, which rarely happens, but it did happen once early in my career. And actually, I only dressed one of them, and it's a long story. Long, painful story.
But it was not your fault.
And so, yeah, I mean, all those things are taken into consideration, and the costume designer will usually work fairly closely with the art department and the production designer. I mean, everybody, we're all like this integral collaborative team where we're sharing what we're doing and making sure that it all works and it's all cohesive and it paints the picture and tells the story that we want to tell and show.
I mean, I know you talked about, God, I'm gonna sound like an uncultured gay man. Is it Moschino?
Moschino.
God,
it's okay. I learned in this recording it's called Moschino.
So with the red outfit, you then you paired it with a jacket for the end. Was that jacket like a fancy brand name?
I don't remember. I feel like it was BCBG, and I feel like I'm not 100% certain, but sometimes I look at pictures like that I have, and or see something online, and I'm like, why a gold jacket with that red suit and those big white buttons? And I think that maybe we discovered that she needed a jacket, and I don't know, maybe it was a last minute decision. Maybe I was thinking the gold leather jacket would go with the orange Versace suit, which would have been lovely. And then she wears that leopard headband. So the
head loses, yeah.
Yeah. So the headband and the jacket kind of work. But yeah, I've always been a little curious about that jacket. I know I picked it out, but I don't remember much about it.
Listen, I like it. I think it looks good. I like, because back then we could only watch it if it was on TV or if we got the VHS later, but I hadn't realized it was the same outfit until like later when I could rewatch the movie a bunch, that like, it's the same, like she wears that when Sid and her talk, when she's outside the school, like that's what she's wearing. So I like it. And I think it's like the shininess looks good on camera. I think like the whatever shimmer to the material.
I do think it looks good. And I like the way the light hits it. And yeah, I love gold, so it works. But there are times when I'm like, wonder why I chose that.
I think you said the same thing when we recorded about Buffy. You were like, sometimes I look at those outfits and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah. For the most part, I like most of them. But there's a few I'm like, interesting.
But I do have to ask you, because everyone on our like social media what is Tatum's sweater? Is it also chartreuse, or is it yellow, or is it green? I mean, not sweater, but
I think it's pale yellow.
Okay.
Pale yellow. Okay. Huh.
Is it? I don't know. I haven't. You guys can pull up a picture, can you?
I think it is. I can pull up a picture and put it in our chat.
I was sure it was green. And then there was a couple people saying green, a couple people saying yellow, and a lot of people saying chartreuse. So her outfit is actually really, really interesting in this whole scene 118, because it does go hand in hand with her death, and it's a fun outfit. So what was your thought process on that one? I'm very curious about that now, because it is such like a brutal death.
Yeah, it's a brutal death. We all had, sorry, my foot's falling asleep. We had a really hard time watching that scene. It was very emotional. I was watching dailies with the group, but it was brutal on set as well. And so the outfit, I think what I remember about that is it had the colors, the swirl. So the outfit needed to be sexy and frisky and fun and go with her little white Doc Marten boots. And didn't she have a jean jacket on too? I think she had. No. I think they were pretty big in that day.
Yeah.
They're back.
That's like all I wear. I'm trying to find.
If I could find a really soft one. I don't want a hard denim jacket. But anyway, so that's what I remember about that outfit. And it was kind of her look, because the look that she wears at school is so similar. The plaid skirt with the little mock turtleneck.
Do you display anything in any of your work throughout the years? Do you display stuff like that in your house, or are you put it in the closet and just leave it put up type of person?
It's in the closet, man.
Oh goodness, no! I'd be framing all of those sketches. Wall full.
Well, I did at Buffy. Like, I had all my sketches framed in my office.
Oh, nice.
Like, I don't know if you can see these.
Oh, nice. Those are nice.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Because I built so much stuff with for Buffy.
Cool.
But okay, so I'm looking for here's a copy of my original sketch.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, cool.
You for however long now, you talk about this movie all the time. You talk about Buffy all the time. People ask you all the questions. How was it to dress this person, that person? And I think it really is, like, you may not see it, but it really is a testament to like your work, right? Because you know, we're not these projects don't just live on with the actors. We're not just talking about the actors. We're talking about it down to what they're wearing, and you know, the color of Tatum's shirt, right? Like we're having debates about that. Like that's a legacy right there, and it's so cool that you have that's yours. It's yours.
Yeah, you should be really proud of
Very
that.
proud of them. Very.
And that's
yeah, I'm very proud, and I definitely this past year and 2020, there was a lot of attention for both Buffy and Scream, and I'm honored. And
Yeah.
you know, all through the years, I've received you know, different emails and DMs and snail mail letters from different people how the costumes moved them and changed their lives, and I never really got it until people really started coming forward on social media and telling me how my costume choices made an impact on how they chose to live their lives, and how by seeing each of the characters, both in Scream and on Buffy, individualized and not dressing like the in crowd, and just being so true to who they are and their personality, that they felt that they could be true to who they are and their personalities. And it gave them, what I'm told is that it gave them the freedom to be themselves.
Mm.
And to me, I'm like, my work is done.
Yeah.
You know, I left the industry for a lot of reasons. You know, I just wanted to try something new. I was extremely burnt out, and I wanted to do something that made an impact on the world, and something where I could give back. And I have been searching for that for a while. And it was really this year, in a couple of the most recent podcasts, that I realized that I did exactly what I wanted to do by costuming. And I was so humbled. And I think it was the Netflix interview where the girls were telling me this. And it made me appreciate the opportunities and the projects and the work that I've done and the people that I've been able to work with and the impact that I've had on other people, to such a degree that I can't even to such a degree that I'm thinking of going back into costume design.
You should. I think
Well,
you have a full resume of iconic looks that I think you could snap right back into it again, you know.
and when Zach and I do our movie, you will be the costume. You should be the costume designer.
Absolutely. So you didn't do the other Scream movies, right? Just this one. Okay. Well, not to put any of the other ones down. I will say, and we love the franchise, everything. Okay, there's all the props there. But this one really does stand out when you talk about individuality in terms of the costuming, because the other ones feel like they're kind of wearing the same clothes from film to film. There's like a leather brown jacket. Like Sydney's kind of always wearing the same thing. Even in this new one, she looks like she was wearing the same thing from 3 and 2, you know? And, you know, Gale is such, like, she's so lively. Like, she's such, like, a firework in this one. And the other ones, they do, while she's still the same character-wise, costume-wise, I feel like they bring it down a little bit, you know? And in this, you know, you have a couple iconic looks in one film. Like, that's so damn cool. I'm not gonna cuss, but yeah, it's really, really cool, man.
Thank you. You know, I really appreciate that. And when I design, I take the character in mind, and I design for the character, and I'm not designing to make something look good unless it's supposed to look good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Gale was clearly supposed to look good. Sydney does not always look good, but it's right for the character, it's right for the scene. And so and even like, so I've been doing creative direction and branding work, and the last couple of years, well, 10 years. And what's really interesting about that is it's the same premise. You know, I'm creating an identity, a brand identity, or a character identity. And I think it's really important to take that into consideration. And sort of like, also when I was on Buffy and I would talk to a lot of different kids organizations and high schools and young women's associations, and it was during the heyday of Buffy, and so the trends were really right on the moment or just before they started to hit. And so people would ask me what I thought about trends, and I was always like, you have to dress for who you are and your body, and not every trend is for every body. You have to take that into consideration. Not everybody should wear white leggings. It's just a fact. And so when I design, I'm taking, there's so many things to consider. So it's the character. Are these choices, is my vision going to work on the actor's body?
Listen, hearing you talk about this, I mean, I think I can speak for both me and Zach. Like, we dress the way we dress, but we're not big on like fashion stuff. So I find it so interesting hearing someone with like your brain that is like knows all about it. Like, I find that so interesting hearing like how you build the character through their outfits. Like I'm really like, because it's like I would listen to you do a TED talk on this. Like, you tell me how you style like shit. Like, I would love it.
Because even like two guys who aren't into fashion like us, it still like seeps into our subconscious watching something and recognizing that we like this person. And why do we like that person? Well, we remember their outfit, right? Or and that happens all the time. Was there ever a piece just throughout your whole career that you thought was really going to be a big hit, or maybe like have a longer life that just didn't really hit?
I want to know both sides of this.
Yeah, that you thought was going to be a big hit that didn't really, do it.
And then is there one that you didn't, but then was?
Mm-hmm.
So, I never looked at anything that I was creating in terms of like, oh, this is going to be a big hit, because I never designed with that in mind. If I was designing a line of clothing, a brand, maybe I would think in those terms, but I always designed from the heart and what was right for the show, what was right for the character. I am very surprised that Scream and Buffy play so well to this day, and that there's so many fans, and that there's cosplay, and both in the straight world and the gay world. I mean, it's just in the world.
Yeah.
And I think Ian, it was you that told me about Casey Becker.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I had no idea, because I don't follow trends. I'm not really on social media that much. I post my stuff and I walk away. I don't scroll. I can scroll for 2 seconds and then I'm done.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. And so I didn't know all of this was going on. Even when Scream first came out, I didn't know how popular it was, because I was doing these movies in North Carolina and, really didn't have access to TV. And I think we had computers back then.
It is funny talk. I mean, because I am, almost 40. So like I was watching TV and
so
stuff.
Much younger. I would never have guessed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But like, I think about that a lot, right? Like when I've talked to a lot of people that have worked on shows or movies from back then, they're like, we didn't even know it was so popular, because how were we figuring out? Like, we did our job and then that was kind of it.
Yeah, I think so. The woman that took over for me on Buffy, Terry Dresbach, so she did like part of season 7, and then she went on to do Carnival, and then she went on to Outlander. So she and I met in, oh my God, if I say the year, then it was a long time ago. It was like one of my first films, and we worked together on this project, and oh my God, I just loved her so much. She was so much fun. But we hadn't connected in years, and then we reconnected via Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting to see, because she has had social media.
Okay.
And she was doing Outlander, so she's got like 45,000 followers, and she's not designing anymore, but she definitely has a platform, and she's using that platform and her voice, and she's very powerful. And I think, wow, I mean, what would it have been like? Would I have been on social media had I had it? Like when I was on Private Practice and Ringer, even social media wasn't, that was like 2000, 2007 to 2010, and then Ringer was 2011. It wasn't what it is now, and so it would be interesting. It would be interesting to do a show now with social media. Would I involve myself? Would I hire somebody? I don't know, because again, it's not my thing, and it just whatever. But I think social media is very powerful and influential, as we all know. God bless you.
Right.
And I mean, look, you guys have your podcast. You guys have several podcasts, and it's kind of really amazing.
It's how we got connected. I can remember how you and I got connected was I asked Twitter, like, what is the color of Buffy's jacket? And someone tagged you and like, just ask Cynthia. And then you responded, and that's how we met.
Yeah. That was fun. That was that teal jacket.
Yep. I do have one last question for you.
Sure.
Taking out that the movie's already been done, how would you style Gale and Sydney in 2021/2022 when it comes out? Like, what would be your vision for styling them? So we haven't seen that much. The movie's been pretty tight about showing new clips. Like, we've only seen them each in like one outfit. What would be your vision of how you would style them?
The orange suit. I would bring back the orange suit.
I would have to read the script.
Fair.
I mean, I really can't decide because I don't know who these women are now. I mean, when was the last Scream? Scream 4? Was that like 2004?
2010, I think. Right, Zach?
10 or 11. It was 10 or 11.
It's 10 or 11 years ago. Yeah, so I couldn't even comment on that unless I had read the script.
Well, Cynthia, this has been an absolute pleasure. It is always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Wow, yeah, thank you guys. This has been fun. I enjoyed it.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.